We have braised lentils with crispy parsnip croquettes. Now, this is actually something out of my childhood, something my grandmother would make. She wouldn't call it braised lentils with crispy parsnip croquettes.
What would Grandma call it?
I don't know what she would call it. She would just say lunch is ready and something. But I remember this being, just a delicious, it was a way to kind of put lentils and beans, some legumes into a delicious meal, and it would go completely over our head because it was just incredibly delicious. So very, very simple, very quick to do. And, I'm using lentils here. You can use any, sometimes she would use, kidney beans or Romano beans. If you have, we love to do our own beans from dried, soak them, store them, so whatever you have, beans in the freezer, use them. It's fantastic. So this is a really, really quick way to do a nice kind of tomato sauce. I don't always do it this way, but it's very quick and convenient. So if you do have a food processor, what you do is just pretty much add one carrot, one celery, one onion, a couple cloves of garlic. You can chop it up by hand as well. And it's going to get loud in here. Pretty much want to pulverize it until you have these little pieces.
Way easier than doing that by hand.
Yeah, 2 seconds. And if there are some, the carrots don't always break down. You might have big chunks. It's okay. It'll cook in the sauce, and it'll be delicious. The carrot trick was something I also learned. I know some people, when they make tomato sauce, it becomes a little too acidic. So to offset that, some people add sugar to the tomato sauce. One way you can kind of avoid adding sugar is try a carrot. Even stick, peel a carrot, stick the whole thing in your tomato sauce as you're slowly cooking it. This is for anything, not even for this. And what it does is it kind of absorbs a little bit of that acidity, and it adds a nice sweetness to it. It balances it out, and you get a really nice tomato sauce. And in fact, when you eat that carrot after, it almost tastes slightly pickled because of the acidity from the tomatoes, which is kind of neat. So try that. Don't add the sugar. My nonna would not approve of the sugar. So this is going to go in. We've got hot pan. You can do like a sauce pot with a little bit of grapeseed oil. When you hear that sizzle, well, it's ready. Try to get most of it in. And you would add, if you wanted the heat, a nice little, chili, you would add it to the food processor. Everything in there. So we want to just cook this a little bit, get a little bit of color. Probably just take a couple minutes. And then we're going to add our tin of tomatoes. So these are whole plum tomatoes. You can use jarred tomato puree. Don't use the clean, like the pure one that doesn't have anything added to it. I like the plum tomatoes because you can kind of crush them down and they slowly cook as you're braising the lentils. So that's going to go in. We are going to add our lentils. Again, you can use any lentils that you like. You can go from dried and soak them, put them in a pinch. If you can use tin lentils, again, just rinse them really well, drain them. Those go in. You can use French lentils, brown lentils. Another name for them, masoul dal. Am I saying? Yes, that's another one as well. So that's going to go in. And that's pretty much it. You want to bring that up to a boil. It looks a little not much like a sauce right now, but I'll show you the end result. The only other couple things I'm going to add for seasoning, this is another thing that my grandmother used to do, is the Parmesan rinds, or those hard cheeses that you have. Don't throw those away. You're not going to get much cheese out of this, but just wash the outside very well and throw it right into your sauce. And you can do this with your tomato sauce as well. Question, yeah. Yes. Oh, wow.
So tin tomatoes are okay? So much confusing information floating around there saying they're unsafe. Do you want to just underline that that's okay?
Yeah, from the only thing you really want to look at is the tin itself. As long as it's a BPA-free lined tin, that's the main thing.
But thank you for the question. It's great.
And so that that Parmesan rind, that'll go in, and it'll slowly kind of melt and season the soup. I mean, you could take it out after, but it adds some incredible flavor to your sauces, to your soups, to your whatever you're making. The other thing I like to do, I don't think my grandmother did this, but I like adding a little bit of dried mushrooms in there. So dried porcini, you can use dried shiitake, and very little, like one mushroom, dried mushroom worth, and it makes it, it's optional, you don't have to do this, but it just, again, we're working on flavor there. I don't want to have to add too much salt or too much oil to this at the end. I want to use some natural ingredients to build that flavor. So that'll go in. Once that is up to a boil like this, you can reduce that to a simmer, and 25 minutes, 30 minutes, that'll be ready. That's a great meal, fantastic as is. We used to have, just some hard, crusty bread with that. Talk about comfort food for the winter, it's delicious. This was another little thing that she would do on the side, and I'm either remembering this or was dreaming of this, but in my mind it's delicious. So what we've done here is some parsnips. Parsnips, great root vegetable. You can use them as is roasted, but they mash really, really nice. So boiled some parsnips and a potato, just until you get, really nice soft mashing consistency. So I've got an egg in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of dry basil, dry oregano. I have just a little bit of breadcrumb and some grated Parmesan cheese. You can use, if you want like a gluten-free version or lighter version, you can use, instead of breadcrumb, you can even use millet, ground, like cooked millet will work really well in here. Quinoa even. I've never done it with quinoa, but it might work. You can try it.
Try it at home, take a picture, let us know how it turned out.
Just sending you on these missions.
Food adventures,
Yeah.
right?
And grated zucchini was another one that my grandmother added. It doesn't make sense in a croquette, but I think it was more of at the end of the growing season, we had a lot of zucchini left over. And so this was the time where zucchini was in your croquettes, it was in your tomato sauce, it
You
was
use
in
what you have, right?
your cereal.
And I love these
everywhere.
recipes where you grate up the vegetables and just add it to things. So you don't feel like you're sitting down and eating a big salad at every meal. You're incorporating it into the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might even get some extra vegetables into the diets of people in your family who aren't too crazy on the greens and the veggies. Yeah, and you're also, that's the other really good point, the more veggies you add to your sauces, to your croquettes, to whatever recipe, basically you're displacing some of the higher calorie foods, right? So it's gonna be a lower calorie croquette than if you just went all potato or something higher.
Yeah, and the parsnip adds a really, really nice flavor to it. I know that not everyone is keen on like the parsnip and the rutabaga on its own, but try adding it to something like this with other ingredients, and the flavor is really nice. So I'm just mixing it with my hands. You can use a masher. I say just get right in there. I mean, that's the best way to do it. It doesn't have to be like if you have chunks of parsnip, chunks of potato that haven't completely broken down. It's okay. It's a nice little surprise. It adds character.
You get some texture.
Yeah.
Not every croquette will be the same.
I don't think my grandmother cared really if it was perfectly mashed for all of us. And
It was probably
still,
gone off the table
yeah, and it was
before
still
you
delicious.
could inspect it.
So just combine it, and what you pretty much want to do is make these little, kind of like little meatballs or little patties. And then, you do a bunch of those, set them down. If you're doing a lot, I find what helps is a little bit of olive oil in your hands. Rub your hands and then do it. Fantastic. And I know I said this before, it is incredible for your skin. I'm telling you. A little bit of olive oil. So that's it. Make these patties. That's going to go on a baking tray lined with parchment into the oven, 400 degrees, for about 15-20 minutes. Let me get rid of this. So, finished. So this is what they look like when they're nice and golden brown. Nice and
Ooh,
toasty. You get
wow.
this really nice crispiness on the outside, and this really nice soft, creamy parsnip potato. It's delicious. It's really, really good. I would have it for breakfast. I have no complaints about having it for
Breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner.
And this, I'll bring it over quick. This is what it looks like with the lentils and the tomato sauce. So you see how
That's like
it's
an
kind of
awesome
come
stew,
together?
like you were saying, you could just have as a separate meal.
It is so, so good. Now, plating time. You can go right in here. So what we would do is kind of serve this on the side and just throw them into that sauce. And I mean, this is comfort food that, you know what, if you gotta go for seconds or thirds, you're not gonna feel too bad. Really, really tasty, very delicious. A little bit of an extra step, but it's well worth it.